Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Lauren. What I'm gonna do today for you is kind of a part 2. So we had a part 1 video where we talked about being quarantined on a cruise ship during this coronavirus or COVID-19 pandemic. We were actually in the middle of the ocean at the bottom of the world in the Drake Passage. We were in Chile. We were in Punta Arenas, which is the city most southern in Chile or South America, other than Ushuaia in Argentina. But we were actually on a 2-week trip to Antarctica, had an amazing time. While we were in Antarctica on a cruise ship, the world basically just went crazy with this virus, and nothing to be laughing about, but our situation is kind of crazy. If you watched our first video, you learned that we basically were trying to get back into Chile. We bought a car. We had bought a car in Argentina and we drove to Chile, where we left the car and we went on this cruise to Antarctica for 2 weeks. And when we came back, we were trying to get into Chile, and they had that day closed all of the borders, and we got stuck on a cruise ship. And we were on that cruise ship for about 2 weeks more. So we spent a total of a month on the cruise ship, basically just floating in the ocean for those last 2 weeks, trying to figure out where we were gonna go, what country was gonna let us in, or are we just gonna be stuck floating in the ocean for we didn't know how long. So it took about 2 weeks to finally negotiate with the Falkland Islands and allow them to let us get off of the ship there. We had to go directly to a bus and then directly to the airport without stopping. So it was under those specific recommendations, or I guess the law that we had to do. Anyways, so people were asking the number one question after that first video that I did here on our YouTube channel about being quarantined on the cruise ship, our experience, what we went through. A lot of the question was, well, what happened to the car? So I wanted to make a video number 2 to follow up and let you guys know what happened to the car. So we bought a car in Argentina. We drove it to Chile, Punta Arenas, Chile, and we left it there in a secured parking lot, pretty much. So we made a deal with one of the guys, the owner there, and we told him, we're going on a cruise ship, leaving out of this city for 2 weeks, and we'll pay for every day that we're gone, and when we come back, we'll get the car. Everything was supposed to be really easy and simple. We did not foresee, nobody foresaw the total country shutting down, the borders closing, and us not being able to get back to the car. So we only bought that car like 2 weeks prior to leaving it. We bought it in Argentina, we drove to Chile, and we were excited. We finally bought a new car. It took us 2 months in Argentina to get that car. So it was a very long, tedious process, and it was very frustrating when we found out we weren't gonna be able to get back to the car because of the border closure in Chile. So basically the car is still sitting in Chile, and it is still sitting in that parking lot that we had originally paid for it to only be 2 weeks. It has now been about 2 months, I would say, since we left the car there, and we were very fortunate to not only have left it in a city that is a good city, not too overpopulated, decent people, a nice country where, it's a pretty safe city and safe place, safe country in general. So that's the first thing. We're lucky, at least if this happened, it happened in a city that is, nice people, it's easygoing, it's not overpopulated. I think all that makes a difference. But we also were able to make contact on the cruise ship. When we were on the cruise ship and all this was happening, we made friends with a very nice representative of the cruise ship that we were on, and he was very helpful in making sure that our situation was handled the best way possible. It wasn't our ideal situation, getting stuck on the ship and not being able to get back into Chile, not being able to get our car, but he understood our frustrations, and there was nothing we can do. It was at a government level, so we had to basically leave our car there. But he had a person that was living in Punta Arenas, that was living in the city that we left our car, that could basically look out for the car. He was a trustworthy person, a trusted person, a friend, a personal friend of the crew member, I should say, but he's a crew member that was in a high position. So it was nice that he was nice enough to give us that contact. We got in contact with him. He said he would check on the car. He would go tell the guys that owned the car lot that we left it, because we never got a number. We didn't have a number. We're thinking, how are we gonna tell them we'd left our car there? They knew we were supposed to pick it up today. There's no way to get in touch with them. We didn't have a number. We couldn't find one online. It was just like a parking lot that didn't have a lot of information. I mean, it was a visible parking lot in the middle of the city. People knew about it. It was legitimate, but we didn't have like a phone number. It was just one of those, open lots with a parking sign. So we had him go and actually talk to the owner. So we got really lucky with that. I feel like that we met somebody really nice on the cruise ship that had a good, trustworthy contact there on the ground in the city that we left the car, and he was so kind and so nice, and we're so thankful for him to go and tell the owner of the parking lot what happened, to make sure that our car was going to be safe. And the guy who owned the parking lot couldn't have been nicer about it. He totally understood. Obviously the world is in a crazy mess right now, so he said no worries, the car is going to be fine here. So basically that's what happened to the car. The car is still ours, we still own it, and it's still sitting there, and we are trying to get back there as soon as possible. As soon as the borders open again to Chile, we will be one of the first ones hopefully on our way there. We're gonna get back to our car and we are gonna continue our trip. If you can remember our trip, the reason we bought a car was because we are planning to drive from the most southern point of South America. We went to Antarctica, but we can physically drive from Ushuaia, Argentina, all the way up to the most northern point in Alaska. So we're driving all of the Americas from South America to North America, bottom to top. So that's our original plan. We're still sticking with that. We're eager to get back. We're just waiting now on the government to open up the borders, to allow tourism back, to allow passport holders such as myself, an American passport holder, or anybody in general, but specifically me. They need to open the borders, and we're gonna get back to Chile. We're gonna go back to get our car, and we are gonna finish this trip, and we are going to be excited to do it. We're really just anxiously waiting for the borders open to hear something from the government. So again, that's all to them. The car is waiting for us. We do have check-ins once in a while with the contact we have on ground there in Chile, and he has been checking on our car, sending us pictures of it, showing us that it's safe, and I feel pretty confident that it's gonna be okay, and we'll just deal with whatever we have to deal with when we get back. But as long as it's safe, it's there, it's still in our name, it's not going anywhere as of right now, and that's kind of a security that we have. Still not an ideal situation. We wish we would have never had to leave it, and we wish we were there with it now, but as soon as we can, we'll get back to it. And that's what happened to the car. That was actually the biggest question I got out of all that, because I told you guys we bought the car, we left it there, but never went forward in what actually happened when we had to leave the car there, what happened to the car. So car is still ours, still there, and we're hoping to get back to it as soon as possible, and then we can continue the journey. So I guess the next part of this video would be actually bringing you guys back to the car with us. We will take you along with us so you can see the car for yourself, and the happiness and the joy that we'll have when we are actually back to the car. And then we're gonna bring you along for the rest of our trip. We're gonna show you all of South America and all of North America and what it's like to drive from top to bottom, the Americas, which will be its own big experience in itself. And I'm very excited to share that with you guys. Looking forward to that, so stay tuned. That's coming soon. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, make sure you do. If you already have, happy to have you here, and thank you for subscribing, and glad that you're along on the journey with us to see what happens next. And if you have any other questions, I think I answered. I mean, it's pretty simple. It was basic. The question was just what happened to the car. So I wanted to answer that and give you an update, especially now that it's been like 2 months. So that's what happened to it immediately after, and what's still happening now. It's still kind of on the same grounds. So yeah, if you have any other questions, just leave them in the comments below and I will answer them. And looking forward to the next video where we'll actually get back to the car. We'll take you with us, and then we'll do this big, amazing trip and bring you along with us. So we'll see you soon.